good day. The Almighty Creator desires a deep personal relationship with you. My name is James Robertson. I'm a researcher, publisher, and teacher regarding the matters and truths of the Almighty Creator, whose true name is Yah, the eternally self-existing. I've been actively serving him since 1993, over 31 years. If you're not actively serving Yah, then by default you're serving Satan. My objective is to show you how you can make a big difference on earth and qualify for a position of high esteem in heaven for eternity. It's important to understand that as a believer, just being good is not the point. It's relationship with Yah that counts. Without this, you'll be in a very unpleasant place in heaven with no way out. My aim is to show you how to get close to Father. If you're a good person without a clear relationship with Yah, then you're in a spiritual no man's land and will not enter heaven when you die. The Creator said regarding unbelievers, why would I want someone to spend eternity with me when they do not believe I exist? Yah is calling everybody on the planet to be involved and serve him and help him to have victory over Satan. My goal is to show you how to do this. Fundamentally, we each need to learn to see things on earth from Yah's perspective, and my aim is to teach you how. Please visit my website at www.endtimeissueministries.org or email me on james@endtimeissueministries.org or message me on WhatsApp. So we're going to look at creation, we're going to look at some names, and we're going to look at something about Yahoshua. So to get started, we're going to look at creation. Okay, so we're going to start with Genesis chapter 1, story of creation, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, etc., etc., etc. Let there be light, and God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. So God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So, and those were the first days. So let's have a look at this. So there's our verse again. We're looking now specifically at Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And I'm going to go to the interlinear Bible, which is a detailed analysis of the text of the Bible. So here's my verse again. And we've got, he called it the light day. So here we see the English word, we see the Hebrew word, we see the transliteration, the pronunciation of the Hebrew word, and we see a reference, which is the Strong's number, which is the catalog of Hebrew terms. And here we see exactly the same again for, he called, and this reads from right to left, and there was night, evening, and there was morning and first day. So if we go in and we have a look at Yahweh, there we see again that we've got it in Genesis 5, the light day. So day is in the context of it's the day. And then we've got a day in the context of Genesis, Yah creating the first day. So if we go and look here, let's just go back and so we're looking at the first day of creation. And what we see here, it's that the word yom, day, part of speech, noun, masculine, etc., etc., derived from an unused root meaning to be hot as the warm hours of the day. So important to get that. The Greek equivalent for day. Now, the Hebrew word yom primarily means day, is used in various contexts throughout the Old Testament. It can refer to a 24-hour period, the daylight hours, or to an indefinite period of time. Now, that is so important, folks. The earth was not created, and creation did not take place in 7 24-hour periods. It took place in 7 periods of indeterminate time, indeterminate periods of time. So that's really, really important to understand it. Okay, so that's the first point that I wanted to make, folks, is that creation did not take place in 7 periods of 24 hours. Creation took place over millions of years. So first, Yah created matter, and we'll look at that in a bit more detail in a minute. Then he created the Big Bang, which exploded out and created the universe and the stars and everything. And that took some time. And then he created planet Earth. And then he created the plants, and he created the animals, and finally he created us in chunks of time of substantial duration. And if we then, and why did he do that? So let's go to Genesis 3, and this is where Satan tricks Chava, Eve, to eat the fruit. She gives it to Adam. Adam eats the fruit, and in so doing, he rebels against the commandment of Yah and gives control on earth to Satan. But what I want to see here, and they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves. Now, so what we see there is that Yah was fellowshipping, or was accustomed to fellowshipping, with Adam and Chava. And the point that I want to make, folks, why did we get to be created? Why did Yah go to all this trouble? Because ultimately, the end point of his whole creative activity was us. And the question has to arise, why did he do that? And I'm not going to ask each of you to answer it, because some of you have already heard me talk on this, but he created us because he was lonely. So way back when, millions of years ago, Yah was lonely. He's always existed. He's on his own. He decided he wanted intelligent people with the ability to make decisions and act of self-volition to be his friends. So the entire reason that we exist as human beings is to be friends of Yah. So if you're not actively seeking to become a friend of Yah, you're kind of missing the point of your life. So I want to leave that point and move on. So I want to share with you an article that's on the website. It's the article that is on the website, 2021-05-06, the essence of my message regarding creation. So you can go there, just look for the essence of my message regarding creation on the website. And to do that, you just click on these 3 dots up there. You click on find and edit, find, and if you just type in miracle, there you'll find the miracle of Yeshua's death. So I want to start out by saying that, and I'm guessing that all of you, I know the 2 of you know that believe in the Creator, but just for the purposes of my message today, these are engineering things. This is a petrochemical plant. This is a number of buildings in London. They are very sophisticated, they're very complex, and they required an extreme amount of engineering intelligence and effort to design and build them. There's a car, there's a computer microchip, there's a robot. They all require huge amounts of intellectual effort and knowledge and experience to build them. So the fact that we are here, the fact that the universe is here, that there's this amazingly complex created process that brought us into existence, proves that there's an intelligent being that put this all together. And then if we look at nature, if we look at the beauty of the flowers, the beauty of the birds, the amazing versatility of the animals. And again, what we see is that there was a highly artistic, creative effort to bring us into existence. And then we get to the human body, And it's hugely complex, and it works in very, very precise ways. Again, what we see is the role of an engineer, a super engineer who put this all together. And then we get the progression of experimental development of animals and plants, etc. Then we get the periodic table of the elements. Now, this is really important. If you don't know what the periodic table of the elements is, this is all the elements. So helium, hydrogen, oxygen, etc. All the building blocks that make up the planet, the universe, make us up. We are all assembled from these different elements, combined together into molecules to create Earth and create food and what have you. All of this had to be exactly worked out before any matter could be created, because matter is made up of all of these things. So again, a highly sophisticated, highly intelligent, creative agency who went to a lot of effort and a lot of thought to put this all together. And then if we scroll down a bit more, we look at the planet Earth and the universe. These are all stars. These are all suns. All of these bright lights are suns. And that's Earth from space. That's South America. That's North America. And again, this huge sophistication, and it's all balanced in very fine equilibrium. And then we find that we have sexual reproduction, which requires male and female. And in the case of butterflies, there's an intermediate state, which is the caterpillar. In the case of animals, the intermediate state is the fertilized ovum in the womb, the fetus. And in the case of birds, it's eggs. But all of that requires that there has to be a male and a female, and the male and the female have to fit together in the case of animals, physically, sexually. In the case of plants, the pollen needs to go onto the pistil of the flower, and other types there. Both sides, the male and female, had to be there and fully created and fully functional. Otherwise, the species could not have evolved. The point that I'm making is that there is no way that we came into creation, into existence through some sort of random evolutionary experimental process. It all had to be done exactly. And then we get the added dimension, particularly with humans, that you get it with animals as well, that there's things like love and affection, and those are powerful forces. How did things that self-created themselves know to have love and things like that? It's just not possible. And then the sexual organ, the clitoris, serves no purpose except to provide sexual pleasure. And then DNA, we're all made up, and all animals and all plants have DNA, and the DNA is the molecular structure that builds all of the intelligence of how we look. And again, that had to be perfect. That mechanism had to be perfectly developed before any plants or animals could be developed. And so we go. But I think I've made my point. What I'm saying is there has to have been a creator. And the reason he went to all this trouble to create us with all our intellect, our ability, our emotions, our ability to make decisions, our ability to create and make things, was for one reason only. He wanted us to be his friends, so that he could engage with us and participate with us. And almost nobody understands that. And almost nobody is engaging with Yah in that way. He wants to be part of your everyday. He wants to talk to you throughout the day, engage in a conversation. He wants to be involved in your family life. He wants to be involved in your hobbies. He wants to be involved actively in your religious practices. He wants to be involved in your work or your business. And if you are not currently involving him in that way, I encourage you to start doing so today. Just say, Father Yah, I confess that I didn't understand that it was your will for me to be your friend. I ask you to forgive me, and I ask you to help me to become your friend. So moving on, I want to go in a new direction. So I'm sharing my screen, and I'm looking at Matthew chapter 22, the book of Matthew in the New Testament, the Gospels, verse 37. And let's just look here. Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. And what we see here is that he's quoting Deuteronomy 6:5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. Now, I want to make a really important point here. Jesus, Yahoshua, said, you shall love Yah, the eternally self-existing, the Almighty One, the Lord your God, with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. All means all, folks. Yeshua did not say, love me. He said, love Yah. And this is really, really important to understand. We should not be worshiping Jesus. We should be worshiping Yah. And if you're worshiping Jesus, you are making a mistake, and you need to repent, and you need to start worshiping Yah. I want to take this a bit further, and if I go to the interlinear, we see a few things. So first of all, sorry, I want to go to Deuteronomy. So remember that Deuteronomy 6:5 is quoted in Matthew 22:27. So I'm seeing here again the same. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, etc. And I'm going to the interlinear, and so what we see is where in the most of the English translations, the Lord is translated. This Hebrew phrase is translated, the Lord is actually correctly Yahweh. The Hebrew is Yahweh, not the Lord. And if we look at that, we find that the word Yahweh, or the phrase Yahweh, occurs 6,218 times in the Old Testament, incorrectly translated as the Lord. And the Lord is a pagan name. Baal is correctly translated as the Lord. So it is a sin to call Yah or Yahweh the Lord. The correct translation of this word is Yah, the eternally self-existing. So Yah is the essential name of the Creator, and Yahweh is effectively Yah, the eternally self-existing. If we go back and look at this, you see here the Lord often rendered in all capitals. Folks, it's wrong. It's Yahweh, or Yah, the eternally self-existing, or Yah. So just to be really clear on that. And if we go back to that verse, to the interlinear, your God, so there's the word God, but the Hebrew is Elohika, which if we look at it here, it occurs 325 times in the Hebrew. But it can be God or God. So there's Yah, the Almighty, and here's other gods. And if we Baal translates to the Lord, so you should not call Yahweh the Lord. I want to go back to that verse here again, and so this Elohika is, if we look here for 30, Elohim. Elohim is correctly translated as the Almighty, if it's referring to the Creator, or mighty one if it's referring to Satan or another mighty one, a judge or a president. So President Biden is an Elohim. He's a mighty one. King Charles is a mighty one, and so forth. So again, you should not be using God because God is a pagan name. So you should be using Elohim. If we then go back here again, that's all I wanted to show you there. If we then go to the book of Joshua and we look at Joshua chapter 1, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. And what we find there, if we go to the interlinear and we look at Joshua, so that's just translated Joshua, but if we see here that the transliteration is Yahoshua, and if we go and look there, we find that that occurs in a variety of places. So throughout Joshua, but then it occurs in Judges and Kings, in Chronicles, in Haggai, in Zechariah, and so forth. So if we go to Haggai, so these are different Joshuas. But what I want to show you here is when we go to there, Yahoshua. And what we find here is the name Yahoshua is also the Hebrew form of the name Jesus, highlighting the continuity of God's salvation plan from the Old Testament to the New Testament. Now, Father has shown me that it is more correct to say Yahushua, Y-A-H, than Y-E-H. But the key point is that his name is not Jesus. His name is Yahushua, which means Yah is salvation. Yasha meaning save or to deliver. So Yahweh, derived from Yahweh, the tetragrammaton, the name of Yah, and Yeshua, Yasha, meaning to save or to deliver. So Yahweh, Yah saves, Yah is salvation. So the key points that I want to sum up with here are, number one, that creation took place in an indefinite period of time. The second point I want to make is there has to have been a creator, and there has to have been a reason he created us, and the reason he created us was to be friends. The next point is that Yeshua, Jesus, told us to love Yah, the Almighty Creator, not to love Jesus, not to love Yeshua. So we should love Yah with all our hearts, minds, and souls, etc. And then what we saw was that the correct name of the Creator is not the Lord, it's Yahweh, or Yah, the eternally self-existing. We also saw that it is a sin to call him Lord, because Lord is a translation of Baal, which is a pagan deity. We also saw that the word translated God is Elohim, which means the Almighty or a mighty one, and it is sin to call the Almighty God. And finally, we saw that the correct name of Jesus is Yahushua, meaning Yah is salvation. So that's where I want to wrap up for today, folks. I hope you've got some value out of this. Do you have any questions?
Concerning chapter 2 of Genesis, where man is being mentioned in terms of creation, and concerning a woman, that is Eve and Adam, So, is there anything else that you can clarify more? Also on Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, where the Bible says that Yah said, let us make man in our own image and likeness. So it means that Yah had a council, had other beings to consult from in order to create a man in his own image and likeness. So maybe you can clarify on that, because it's like the epicenter of the purpose to why Yah created man.
Right. Well, let's have a look at that.
And he gave out, yes.
Let's have a look at the verse you quoted. So Genesis 1 verse 26. Let us make man in our image according to our likeness. So let's look at that verse. In our image, in our image, in our image. So there's a fairly broad consensus amongst the different translations that it's our image, it's plural. Let's have a look at the interlinear and see what we can find. Now you see here, according to our likeness, there's one Hebrew word that's translated into a whole phrase, and and let us make in our image. So let's start. Let us make there. Let us make. We will do. We will do. We will do. We will do. So it appears to be a plural. Let us build. So let's just. Nathaniel, could you mute, please? And then we find here that it's a verb, to do, to make, to accomplish, to perform, to act, conveying meanings of doing things. And so what you see here is that same word occurs in Genesis 1:7. God made 1:1 bearing fruit, yielding fruit. 1:12 bearing youth. 16 God made. 25 God made. And suddenly in 26 it's let us make. And then that he had made, and he had done, which he had done. So what's my point? They have the translators have added in this whole thing about us, where wherever else that word occurs, there's no us. And this is something that you find quite regularly with the translations, is that the translators have taken nuances on the Hebrew and turned them into something which has become a doctrine, which is in fact not substantiated by the use of the word. So my contention is, how do you get to us? Let's have a look at another example of us. So that was let us make in our image. So let's have a look at this one. In our image. Well, that's the only occurrence of that word. So let's go here. In our image, in his own. Now, Genesis 1:27 says in his own image. So how do we get from his own image to our image? In the image of God, he created them. in his own likeness, according to his image, for in the image of God. All their molten images, likenesses. So it's, again, from an unused root meaning to shade. Often translated as image, used to describe Christ as the image of God and being conformed. That's the Greek. The image of God. So where do we get the us from that? So let's have a look at the other one, according to our likeness. So let's see what we get there. So after our likeness, so and then there's Strong's Hebrew 25 occurrences. So let's look at the so here we say, after our likeness, according in the likeness of a son in his own likeness, the pattern of the altar, now figures like. So again, what you find is that the translators have put in the plural when apparently an analysis of the Hebrew doesn't support that. So essentially what I'm saying is that the question you're raising, Anthony, is that quite honestly, it's a translation issue. It's like the day. So what you get is that somebody translated it with a bias towards plural, and a detailed analysis doesn't substantiate that. I think it's a hugely specious thing to build some sort of our image thing around that when the Hebrew doesn't support it. So does that answer your question?
Okay, brother, we can continue, please.
Okay, well, I'm more or less complete. Are there any other questions? Nathaniel, Margot, Anthony, further questions? Margot, you're muted.
Thank you for going through how we remove the our image, because it's clear that it was translated just once or twice by somebody and put in there. So do we think of it as God made you in my image, or what is how should we think about it?
Well, Yah created us in his image.
In his image.
Not in our some indeterminate our, not some indeterminate plural, but in singular. Yah created us in his image, yes.
Okay.
And it's an important point, because what I found repeatedly, and it happens in the Hebrew and the Greek, that there are verses that people have built whole doctrines on, which are contentious. But when you go into the underlying Greek or Hebrew, you find the sort of thing that I've just shared with you now. Hi, Victor. Welcome. We're just about wrapping up. I have recorded it, so I will send out the recording after this. So just let me finish my point. So my point is, you've got to look very closely. If you get a situation like the one that Anthony raised, where there's this controversial thing of our image, go and look at the underlying language, because you're likely to find with these study tools that in fact it's specious. It's not valid. And there are various other examples of that I've come across, which is why the minute Anthony raised the question, that's where I went, because the likelihood is that it's a translation error.
It was a good question. Thank you, Anthony.
Any other questions? Folks, I think we're done then. Thank you so much for joining. And I'll see you again next Saturday at the same time.
So may I ask the last question, please?
Sure,
kindly.
sure.
There is, apart from being to be friends to Yah, what else did Yah expects from us? Do we have any other assignment? You know, you might be, you can be my friend, I can be your friend, but no assignment being given.
Okay, so now, Anthony, we're going completely into James Robertson's opinion here, because there is nothing in the Bible that's going to substantiate what I'm about to say to you. The way I understand it is that, Anthony, can you mute? You've got a lot of background noise. The original plan was this beautiful earth with these lovely, lush plants where people could just live in the garden and pick the fruit and what have you. And that worked for a few, I don't know, days, weeks, or months, until Satan came. But then, going back, the plan got complicated, because just before Adam was created, Hillel, one of the three archangels, the three captains of the messengers, the captains of the angels, rebelled. There was something wrong with him in his manufacturing, and he developed pride, and he rebelled against Yah. And Yah was about to cast Hillel and all of his following messengers, angels, into the lake of fire and brimstone to be utterly destroyed. And Hillel said to him, I tell you what, I challenge you, I wager that if you put me on earth for 7,000 years with these humans you're about to create, at the end of 7,000 years, not one of them will believe you exist. And Yah was angry, he was upset, he was hurt, and he said, okay, I'll do it. And so he put he put Hillel and his followers on earth, and Hillel became Satan, the accuser. And Yah said to me, it was a huge mistake, and he deeply regrets it, but he has to keep to his word, because he's Yah and he will not break his word. So the whole model changed, because now there was Satan on the earth. And then Satan was looking, how can I trip these people up? So he came with the serpent in the tree, saying, eat this fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so Adam was disobedient. He ate the fruit of the good, knowledge of good and evil. And remember that Yah had said to Adam, have dominion over the earth. So Adam was the king of the earth. But by rebelling against Yah and taking that bite, he gave that dominion to Satan, because he became a servant of Satan. And I've said to people, you need to understand that one little bite of a fruit, it doesn't matter what the fruit was, but one little bite is responsible for the entire mess the earth is in. So everything changed. Adam knew only good. We have spent 6,000 years learning about all evil until this is the most evil generation that has ever existed. So then, in that whole process, Anthony, to come back to your question, originally we were designed just to have fellowship with Yah and to enjoy the garden and invent things and create things and do things with Yah. Then the whole thing changed. Satan's cast down to earth, and we were told to have dominion over Satan. And we blew it. We messed up. Adam messed up. And human beings have been messing up ever since, to be quite honest. And then eventually Yah came with Moshe, Moses, and everything that happened at Sinai and the tabernacle and everything, trying to find a way to get people to draw closer to Father, and that didn't work. And then Yeshua came, Jesus, and he lived a life without sin. He regained authority over the forces of darkness, and he delegated that authority to us, which is a whole other teaching. And virtually nobody knows as a believer that they have authority over the forces of darkness, but to have full authority, they need to be without sin. And virtually nobody is free of sin. So Satan and the forces of darkness are having a field day. The world is dominated by Satan. That's why there's so much war, why there's so much fornication, why there's so much lying and stealing and killing and. Because Satan's in control. And we're supposed to be taking back control, and we're doing just about nothing about it. So I hope that answers your question. So sorry, just to go beyond. The challenge for us today is to take control. The challenge for us today is to follow the example of Yeshua, live without sin, have a close relationship with Father, and take back the world from Satan. We need to initiate powerful revivals. To do that, we need to be filled with the Spirit of Yah. We need to be performing miracles. We need to be doing 40-day fasts. We need to be making a huge difference. Anthony, does that answer your question? You're muted. Okay. Any other questions, folks, before we sign off? No. Folks, thank you so much. I'm going to end the call now, and I'll send out the recording later today. Thanks so much for joining.